you had to put me in a category, I would be a rule follower. I read the rules, seek to understand the rules, and follow them. Sometimes to the chagrin of others, like my wife Brenda, when I insist on driving at or at least very near the speed limit. That said, one of my favorite paradoxes is every rule here can be challenged except this one. I first read this in a book by Roger Von Eck called A Whack in the Side of the Head, about creative thinking. I like it because it fits a narrative that I like to employ in the various businesses I've run. I want my team members to be constantly thinking of ways we can get better at what we do. An important way of doing so is by convincing them that we can challenge and change things. Specifically, in new employee orientation, I would always stress that rules should never get in the way of taking care of a guest. As far as I'm concerned, I want to do whatever it takes to make a guest happy, as long as it's not illegal, unethical, immoral, or puts anyone in harm's way, I would say. With this kind of directive, employees were truly empowered. Often, though, rules are there for a good reason, and to challenge, one must carefully consider the ramifications of doing so. Challenging rules can have positive outcomes, though, sometimes life-changing. During my days with Bristol Hotels and Resorts, our director of benefits approached me with a conundrum. She explained, "We have a waitress in Houston whose husband needs a heart transplant. Our insurance, we were self-insured, plan, calls for a transplant to take place in a hospital in St. Louis. However, if the family goes to St. Louis for the operation, our waitress will have to quit her job and won't be able to pay their other bills. She wants to have the transplant in Houston." After a moment of thought, I asked, "How many other transplants have we had since we formed the company 15 years ago?" "None," was her reply. "Find a hospital in Houston," I told her. To this she said, "I can do that, but you understand we'll be setting precedent, don't you?" Based on the fact that this is the first transplant in 15 years, I'm willing to bet that we'd be able to make similar accommodations the next time this comes up, was my reply. Fast forward 14 years to 2012, I was in Houston meeting a potential franchisee for a restaurant brand I was running at the time. We were having lunch at the restaurant at one of the hotels that used to be owned by Bristol. As we concluded our lunch, a waitress approached the table and asked, "Are you John Longstreet?" When I replied that I was, she said, "You saved my husband's life." If I ever questioned the wisdom of the axiom, every rule here can be challenged except this one, I never will again. I'm John Longstreet with another edition of the Longstreet Beat. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you again next time.